Welcome in, everyone. This is Spitting Fire. I'm Matt alongside Connor. We got your Week 16 NFL picks. It's Christmas week. Merry Christmas, Connor, and early Merry Christmas to you. We got it Wednesday, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. Here we go.
Woo! Merry Christmas, Matt.
Is that all you can say? A little woo?
Yeah,
after the
woo.
Jets beat up on your Rams? Is that you trying to get up for this week?
Listen, I don't know whose loss was worse, Jets against the Rams or Steelers against the Bengals, but I'm just excited. This is like the best time of the year for sports right now. You have the NFL coming into like the best part of their season. NBA is now starting up. We had the first games last night, and then Christmas, big awesome slate on Friday. So that's going to be great. And then, college football bowl games are already starting. It's just great sports all over the place. College basketball, again, is starting to get into the thick of it. So, just excited all over the place right now.
100%. I was playing with the playoff machine on ESPN yesterday, and there's so many different scenarios. There's a bunch of teams still in it. And what's fun, and we'll get to it, and we can maybe start with this with the NFC East, is that no matter what happens this week, next week's going to be fun too. Mm-hmm. Like there's enough teams still in the hunt in the AFC and the NFC because the Ravens pulled up. And then the NFC East things kind of worked out a certain way where at least two of the four teams are going to it's going to come down to week 17. So you love to see that.
Yep. Yeah. And that's just going to be great. And I think that's the benefit of having a horrible division is it stays interesting the entire time. So it's going to be fun. I think, we're seeing that now apparently, which I never thought was going to be possible, but the AFC North now is potentially up for grabs. So there's a lot going on these next couple of weeks. It's going to be fun to watch.
Well, my Steelers 100% deserve that. Before we get too far into it, hit us with our sponsor.
R&R Brewing, love them. It's 10 a.m. We're still drinking it. Got to have that. I don't know, nothing too much to say. We still love them. They're still great. Go get some R&R.
Love it. All right, let's start off. Vikings at Saints Friday. No Thursday game this week.
Yeah, Friday. First of all, this is the worst. I don't know why they scheduled a Friday game on Christmas Day when Christmas Day is like basketball. So I don't think I'm even going to watch this game, especially considering it doesn't look to be that great. I'm going to go with Minnesota. This is going to be a replay of the Minneapolis Miracle or whatever. But I think Minnesota at least covers the 7 points. I think Drew Brees is not very good, and that Minnesota keeps games competitive lately. I feel like, I don't know if that's actually true or not, but I feel like they've been competitive in a lot of their games. So I'd take them to at least cover that 7 points.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I think you have a point. I think there's always a Christmas game though for football, but what you're saying is that it's during the day instead of at night, right? Because they've got 3 games this year. I remember there always being kind of a night game or a late afternoon game, but I usually remember them letting the NBA have it with the morning and midday games, at least for the Christmas slots here on the West Coast.
Yep. Totally. Who do you think in that game? New Orleans or Minnesota?
Minnesota. I told you, Connor, before the show started, 1-15, and I followed it up with 6-9-1 this last week. And so I'm getting up there. I'm somewhat relevant to listen to. Still, you shouldn't listen to anything I say, but I'm still getting the bias out of me. I'm going to take the Vikings -7. I actually, yesterday when I did my picks, I brought a coin with me. I realized I'm so bad that if I'm not sure, the coin's going to push me over the edge. I think this is a one where I flipped a coin, heads for the home team, tails for the away.
Who were you leaning towards before the coin flip? I need your gut feel on this.
I was going Vikings.
Okay.
I haven't had a good gut since my Raspberry White Claw week, but it's 2 bad weeks gut wise, but I'm trying to get back, but I don't trust my gut. My Steelers, I trust my Steelers, and they're falling short for me. They're awful. They're not a playoff team. They don't deserve to be in the playoffs, but they're going to make it just because they won 11 straight. But I don't deserve to be making picks every week. But here we are on this podcast.
I love it. Hey, even bad picks are good because then you just take the other side of it. So
right.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Friday game. And then we go on to Saturday.
Well, one thing on Vikings Saints I want to say is with the Vikings, they're out of it. The Saints now, even with winning out, they can be the 2 seed still. Mm-hmm. So this game is not as appealing as it was maybe a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if the Packers win this week, then the Packers, I think, clinch the 1 seed because they have the tiebreaker over the Saints. So winning that game, which is the worst case scenario for me, but we can get to later from playoff situations. But yeah, I think that this game doesn't mean as much. New Orleans is going to kind of coast through it, and they're not.
But you're going to watch the NBA. Why are you watching the NBA? I don't get it. Why are you watching the NBA on Saturday For me, what's going on in the NBA? What's exciting? We saw Lakers Clippers last night. Why are you excited?
Well, it's Christmas Day. You got to do that. The stars come out. Everybody plays big games. I think they always have cool uniforms. It's always marquee matchups. I think it's, you get to see the best in the NBA play. And it's always, it's a special day to get to watch or to get to play on Christmas Day. So the players get up a little bit for that. It's the same thing on Thanksgiving. Why do you watch, NFL versus college basketball or something else? I mean, of course it's the NFL, but that's what you do on, Thanksgiving is you watch football. On Christmas Day, you watch basketball.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I got kind of worked up this morning preparing for the show because I went on the ESPN Homes page and I saw the Harden Strip Club story. It reminded me of the Watson restaurant story. It reminded me of what else? The Juju TikTok story. Do you see that Tom was going to talk to? And I'm like, what is this? Is this TMZ? Like the reason people care about sports is because of the tension, because it matters. And that's my thing with the NBA and with get to this college football playoff is like, there's no tension in the story. So why am I excited to see Alabama play Notre Dame? So that's why I'm focused on the NFL, because you go to Thanksgiving and you still, those games matter. And we see that coming down to the wire here, like this week and next week for the NFL, there's tension. It's going to matter. So I don't know. It's hard for me to get up for those sports. I always would get up for Christmas Day, but I think just coming off a later season, it's tough to get excited for.
Even with your Kings, I think they might be good this year.
You think?
I don't know.
Tell me why.
Good talent.
Give me your best argument why.
They looked better last year. De'Aaron Fox is coming into his own. Buddy Hield is solid. I mean, I think they have some good players. Who'd they get in the draft this year?
I don't know, dude. You're talking to me like you're talking about the Carolina Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons. Oh, there's talent.
Kings,
there's
though.
hope.
It's not. I think they're building something, and I think they're on the up and up. I think that I just think they're gonna look better than they have lately. Now, the problem is the West is back to a gauntlet, especially the Pacific Division, which has Lakers, Clippers, Warriors, who got blown out last night, but still have a lot of talent. And then now the Suns, who are pretty good, or again, we'll see how they look, but who are, a very talented team with Chris Paul being there. You're looking at the Kings, who now have to play those teams more than anyone. That's going to be kind of brutal, but I'm looking through to see the draft. I'm going to be annoyed at myself that I don't remember who they got, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, we could sneak an 8 or 7, but I doubt it.
Oh, Tyrese Halliburton. I think he's awesome. He's projected to be the best rookie over the next 5 years. He's really good. I mean, I think it's a good team. I think the problem is they got killed, and this will be, forever held over their head, the Kings, but they picked Marvin Bagley at number 2 over Luka and even Trae Young, if you wanted to say that. So that's pretty tough. And I was always on the camp that I thought Bagley was trash. I thought he was he's a good college player, but he's too much almost like Jabari Parker, or who actually is also on the Kings, or, Jahlil Okafor, guys that are really talented, but are just kind of more physically dominant at that age than other guys. And so when they get to the NBA, they don't really have a position or a position specifically that they can guard. I think that's their issue.
All right. I'm letting this Christmas episode get you too hyped on basketball. No, but seriously, I respect it. I mean, Christmas is basketball. I mean, Christmas Day is basketball 100%, but let's go. Buccaneers at Lions Saturday.
Yeah. Bucks
9.5.
9.5. So I'm taking the Bucks. I don't feel great about that, but again, the Lions are just so bad. I think they covered last week, but I'm at the point of the season when if your team is that bad, I can't pick you to cover. And I think they're just so bad. But I don't know. What do you think about this?
I think so. I think that the problem is I'm going to take the Lions here, 9.5, just coin flip. Listen, I got to get back here. I got to get back to winning record if this is what it takes. But I think what worries me about my own pick is if you want to take the Lions to cover here, you want to take, some big chunk plays from Matthew Stafford to keep this game within 9.5. And I'm just not sure that the Buccaneers are the type of team to give up those big chunk plays. So that's what worries me about my own pick.
Yeah, I think the thing is, though, that the Bucks, again, it's their run defense that's really scary. And I don't think the Lions are going to be looking to rip off, 50-yard runs with Adrian Peterson. So I think that
don't underestimate AP. Come on.
There's still a chance, obviously, that I see what you're saying. And I agree that I think you're going to have to be get a couple of those chunk plays. And I don't know where those come from, but I think that the Bucks will kind of keep them in check and end up winning that game.
Oh, I definitely think the Bucks will win that straight up. Listen, we got Niners at the Cardinals. Cardinals favored by 5.
Yep, I am going with Arizona. I think that the Niners are at the point. I mean, they just signed Josh Rosen, who I actually like, and I think that's a great pickup for the Niners. But
why do you like Josh Rosen?
Well, I think anytime you can get a guy like that was just like 3 years ago was a top 10 pick who at some point was incredibly talented, was very highly thought of. There were people who, there were people
You
who
think
thought
he was good?
Yeah.
Like if we go watch the UCLA game against Washington State, like you'd be excited about it.
Yeah. And I loved watching him at UCLA. I thought he was the man and he was awesome. He had some big comebacks. I remember he had a huge one against like Houston or something where he came back from like 35 points in the second half. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's just been in the worst possible situations. I think he was on a Cardinals team that was designed to lose and that was not, was not good. And they also, I think by DVOA, were one of like the top 5 worst offenses in history.
Would he get some playing time if he backed up Goff?
No, Goff's the guy. I mean, the thing with Goff is
I'm just trying to get you to overreact to the Jets game.
Oh, I won't. But I did on Sunday. I should have recorded my own segment on Sunday of just my feelings.
100%. Let's do that. Live reactions and we'll feed them into the show.
All right, I'm in. I'll do that this week. But I think Josh Rosen was in a bad situation in Arizona, then went to the Dolphins, who were also trying to lose. I know they ended up actually being a lot better last year than people thought, but they were not a talented team. They didn't have a good offensive line. And so I think he was just kind of in a bad spot there. And then now he's just been on the practice squad. So I think if he can get into a place like with the 49ers where Kyle Shanahan can say, just do the bare minimum here, I think that he can be successful and he can kind of bring his career back up. And so, as a Rams fan, that's scary because I like that move for the Niners, but I think that, that's not going to have an impact this week. That you're sitting with CJ Beathard right now, who is not good. And so I think that the Cardinals can at least cover 5 points.
Yeah. Speaking of the Niners quarterback situation, I was on a plane last week up to Sacramento on Southwest. I have to admit, Berg, I texted you, hey, Jimmy G and Jose Altuve are on this flight. Pretty sure it ended up just being a prank by the flight attendant who was a little too excited, but I believed it at first. I was like, oh yeah, they're definitely on this plane. And I walked back and forth. I went to the bathroom. I tried to find him. And then there was a guy who kind of looked like he could be Jimmy G, but he didn't have a boot or anything for his ankle. And Jimmy G's out with the ankle injury. And it was funny because down at baggage claim, people were looking at him and like walking around. And I definitely don't think it was Jimmy G, but it would have been great if it was.
Well, I said Jimmy G's agent is based in Sacramento.
Right. So and you got Scott Boras down in OC where I was coming from out of Newport.
And that's Altuve's agent. So, I mean, it's not but I don't know why Altuve would be going to Sacramento. And I don't know why Jimmy G would have been in Orange County. So those are my things that I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know where he's rehabbing. I tried to check on social media. It was kind of silent.
Lame. So who do you got in this, Cardinals or Niners?
Definitely the Cardinals. I try to just stay simple on these games where a team's fighting for their life. 5's not a lot of points. We saw the game last week against Dallas. I think Dallas ended up winning by a touchdown, right, over the Niners.
Yep.
Niners quarterback situation's a mess. I do like the Rosen pick. I didn't respond to you on that. I think it makes sense. I don't know. The Cardinals covered last week against Jalen Hurts, who was red hot. I think they'll do it again. I think they're going to make a push.
I like it.
Dolphins at the Raiders. We're getting to those Sunday 10 o'clock games. Oh no, this is our last Saturday night game. Miami by 3. What do you think?
Miami for sure. I mean, they're playing good football right now. And I think
the Raiders are trash right now.
Yeah, the Raiders are crumbling. I think this is when the Dolphins are saying, hey, we're going to start playing our best football right now. And the Raiders aren't. Now, I could also see the Raiders saying, hey, let's try to spoil their season and, give them a loss at the end of the year. But I don't know. I don't think
the Raiders technically aren't out of it, right?
Right. So I think
it's a miracle for them to get in.
Yeah, but the first step of that is they got to win, right? So if they have any hope, I could see maybe Gruden getting them all up and excited. I'm still going to take Miami -3 at the Raiders, but as the more we talk about this, I don't love that pick. What do you?
And part of that miracle is the Dolphins losing, which they can make the Dolphins lose. The part that's not very possible is I think the Ravens losing out.
Yeah,
I don't think that's going to happen.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So do you ever see the John Gruden clip where he's like super overreacting, like screaming at his guys a couple weeks ago? Do you see that?
I feel like that's every game, but no,
I know. So that was what I was going to get to is like, if you have a coach like John Gruden, who's been a TV personality for so long, and then he gives you these rants, are you just like looking at it like you're on your phone scrolling through social media, like it's a meme, like you're not going to take it seriously, or are you going to get up for that?
I mean, you get up for it. When it's your coach, I think you can get up for that. I think you get excited.
But when there's a point where it's like, okay, this is this guy again.
Yeah, when it becomes repetitive, when you've seen that, like you're saying on social media, or you watch him do it on Monday Night Football for 10 straight years, it does get repetitive. And so I think he needs to be a little pickier when he does that. But he's a professional coach. He's making him a ton of money because he knows what to do. So, I could see it kind of him finding ways to be creative with that. But yeah, I feel like I'd kind of start to tune it out after a little bit.
Right. All right. Falcons at Chiefs. Now we're in those Sunday 10 o'clock games.
Did you take Miami in that game?
Yeah, I took Miami.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I such disrespect to myself. Like I'm flipping coins, Connor. I was 1-15. Now I'm 6-9-1. I'm like not even giving you my picks.
I need your gut picks on these. Who did you, are
Dolphins,
these still your,
Dolphins.
Okay.
I told you I'm out of control. Like I'm starting to realize that we're actually tracking these picks since the Raspberry White Claw week, where I think I flipped it and went 9-4. But ever since then, I've just been abysmal. Is that when I think I'm taking my gut, I'm actually just picking who I want to win. That's not a gut.
Yeah, I mean, that is hard. That's
like
why it's hard to bet on your
if you switch this out for like stocks, you don't pick stocks because you like that stock. You have a gut feeling like it's going up or down. Like you don't love the stock. You love making money.
Right.
And with football, I got to get there.
Yep.
Because my love of football is weighing in on my betting here.
Yep. Yeah. You'll get there. You'll get there.
Yep. I'll get there.
All right. What do you got next?
Let's do it. Falcons at Chiefs. Kansas City by 10.5. I'm taking the Falcons.
Okay.
10.5 is a lot of points. Like you said last week, the Falcons are playing good ball. They've stayed in a lot of games. I don't know. This team, we've said it a million times, but they're good. They're talented. Somehow they just underperformed so much in the beginning of the season, just like the Vikings. They got Dan Quinn out of there. I think this guy wants to be the next head coach. What do you think?
I mean, I'm going to go with what I said last week, that I think Patrick Mahomes throws for 1,000 yards. I think that he's going to break the record or whatever. I mean, this is the worst secondary in football, and Patrick Mahomes is just going to throw all over the place.
But I don't think the Chiefs have covered in like 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I still am going to take them. I think they cover this game. Yeah, and I think, what is it, 10.5? I don't know. That's not enough points. I think the Falcons I think that because the Falcons, what I try to look at too, and I don't think this ever works, but what I try to look at is when I see a team overperform or underperform the week before, how the spreads impacted that next week.
Right.
And so like in this scenario, and we'll get to it later, the one I really think of it is the Rams Seahawks, but like Atlanta played well last week. And so everyone's looking at them being like, oh man, if they maybe they can stay in it against Kansas City. And so that's why it's only 10.5. Like I think this should be like 14.5. So I think that Kansas City wins by at least 2 touchdowns. And yeah. I'm going to add in also over 54. I think I also like that one. So that's my little additional note that I have there.
How many catches and yards do you think Travis Kelce has right now? I was looking at this yesterday.
Is he still leading the league in yards?
I don't know. I don't know that, but I saw how much he has.
Is he at like 1,400?
He's right around there, and he's got 98 receptions.
That's insane. I think he's about to break the record for most receiving yards by a tight end in a season. He is insane. I mean, he's a receiver. Let's be real. He's not a tight end, but yeah, he's a beast for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he blocked a lot early in his career when he was emerging, and he's still a big guy.
I agree, but he's not. I mean, he plays like a receiver. He doesn't.
100%. That's how Andy Reid
blocker.
uses him.
He's not a guy. He's not, George Kittle or even, prime Gronk or whatever that was dominant blocker. Also, he does block, but he's not a blocker.
Right. All right. Let's see. Boom. Browns at the Jets. Cleveland minus 9.5. And this is where I'm taking the Browns. 9.5 is not enough points. Last week, it was too many points against the Rams. What was it? 14.5 last week?
17.5.
17.5. And I took those Jets. They got their first win of the season. Now I'm ready for that Browns defense to smother them. Cleveland by 9.5. I don't care what the weather looks like. You got the Browns outdoors. You got the Jets outdoors. Doesn't matter. Give me Cleveland.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's, same thing we just talked about. Jets overperformed last week. So I think that spread's a little bit smaller than it should be. I think, okay, let's play out the scenario different and say the Rams came in and won by even just 14. They won by 2 touchdowns last week against the Jets. Do you think the spread would still be 9.5? I think it'd be like 12 or 13. And so that's kind of where I'm looking at this, saying I think that that spread's a little too small, I'd go with Cleveland also.
Yeah, I also don't. Sometimes it's good to just think what do you think's going to happen? Like, I think the Browns are going to win by 2 touchdowns. So, and like you said, it's going to be right around 14 done.
Yep. Agreed.
Colts at the Steelers. We're getting, oh man, I've taken the Steelers the last few weeks, been so biased. We got Indy favored by 1.5 here. I went back and forth on this, Connor, back and forth. I circled the Colts and then I X'd it out. I'm going Steelers. And let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers in cold weather. Now, if we go back a couple years back, I was at Heinz Field. We got an unbelievably warm day in Pittsburgh in December. I was pushing 60 on Sunday Night Football. So you got Phillip Rivers playing like he's in San Diego, like he's in LA. He just lights it up that night, and they win in the last second field goal. Okay. It's supposed to be 39 high this Sunday in Pittsburgh. The Steelers are going to run all over him. Phillip Rivers, awful in cold weather. Have you ever seen him play well in cold weather? This is not a statement that I have any respect for my Steelers. This is everything about how poorly I view Phillip Rivers and how bad I think he's going to be this Sunday.
So, okay, I like the analysis. I agree with a lot of that. What I don't agree with is saying that Pittsburgh is going to run all over Indy. I think that's not going to happen at all.
Sorry, that was a metaphor.
Okay,
run all over him metaphorically. I don't think they're going to run all over him.
Not going to happen. I think something's broken with the Steelers. So I think one of two things is
it's called the linebacking core. We're playing safeties.
Have
you noticed it's TJ Watt and like a safety, a linebacker from the Jets, and like a 4th string linebacker?
I get that. But what I'm saying is that Ben Roethlisberger looked awful, like awful
100%
on Monday night. And I don't know that I've been saying it too. I don't think he looks good. And it's starting to show that he's looking horrible. Now, I agree with you. Phillip Rivers looks horrible too. So that's why I don't know. And I'm not passionate either way. I'm going to go with the Colts because I think that the Steelers are just something is broken with them right now and that they just are losing. I don't know why. Juju's going to keep dancing at midfield and then fumbling and looking like trash. But
come on. That was a good defensive play. Lit him up.
I know. But
and you got thrown into that. They make Juju run. If you watch a Steelers game, they make him run all these routes that are like 2 yards and then they don't run the ball at all. And they don't run intermediate or deep routes except for with Claypool every once in a while. And then so the safety and the DBs are coming down on him every play, and he gets just licked every game.
Well, I think
fun to be Juju, but
no, not at all. So I see that happening again this week. I'm going to go with Indianapolis. I think they'll end up winning it.
Okay. I think you're totally overreacting, and you haven't been on the ground like I have, Connor. I've been in that stadium. I felt that air.
It's 3 losses in a row too. And two of them to under 500 teams. And one of them to the 3rd string quarterback on the Bengals.
Ryan Finley played nice, Connor.
He did. He totally did. And that's almost concerning too. He looked good. So that's
I'm not overreacting. I told you we have a safety at linebacker.
But then again, that still applies to Phillip Rivers. Nothing changed from last week to this week.
No, Phillip Rivers just can't play in cold weather. He can't.
Okay. I don't think 39 is that cold.
That's the high, Connor. Give me 36. Give me 36. Every degree counts. This is a 1.5 point spread.
All right. I'll give it to you. All right. So yeah, you have Indianapolis, or I have Indianapolis. You have Pittsburgh. Okay.
That's why I'm going to make up some ground. Bears at the Jaguars. Chicago by 7.5. Give me the Bears.
Okay. Well, I'm taking Jacksonville.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Tell me why. I want to hear why as passionately as I just defended my Steelers.
The Bears are broken. They suck. And the Jags are going to be able to keep it close.
No, Mitch Trubisky's weird, and he goes on these weird streaks, and it's just nice that they sat him for 2 months so that he can have 4 straight really good games at the end of the season, and then he'll break in the playoffs again. That's Mitch Trubisky.
Well, they're not even making the playoffs.
Nope. I did the playoff machine, and I'm biased in the.
Got it. So now I see all of these picks. Yeah, I think Jacksonville covers. Again, I don't think they're going to win, but I think 7.5 on the road is a lot of points, especially considering Jacksonville does have fans. So I think that, Jacksonville keeps it closer than 7.5. No. They're the best bad team in the NFL. They're like so bad, but they're like sneaky, kind of not that bad.
I guess they're streaky. They had that close game against the Packers, but I am biased, Connor. I scroll through Twitter and I see that David Montgomery was a snub for the Pro Bowl selection, and I liked it. I gave it a heart, and it was Pro Football Focus, and he had all these broken tackles, and I'm like, yes, get me the Bears in the playoffs.
I mean, all right, that's what we're going with then. I like it.
I'm in trouble, aren't I? I'm in a lot of trouble. I'm not even drinking R&R, and I'm in huge trouble.
Who knows? We'll see. What do we got next?
Giants at Ravens. Baltimore by 11. Give me the Ravens. Lamar's getting hot at the right time. I'll take the points.
I'm taking the Giants.
Oh, wait, I'll take not the points, right? Did I say that right?
yeah, I'm taking the points. I'll take 11. I think the Giants defense is better than, I'll keep saying, I think their defense is solid. I think they have weapons on offense, but it's going to come down to how good the quarterback play for the Giants can be. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. With Daniel Jones, kind of those lingering injuries was a big determining factor for me. Plus, I think Lamar Jackson's just playing really well at the right time. I don't know like football enough to give you a real answer on this, but I'm like convinced that his throwing motion looks better now, or like something's right because his accuracy is so streaky.
Yeah, for sure. And that might be what people always talk about, where again, I don't know either. So this is not a real diagnosis, but a lot of times it comes down to footwork, and especially a guy like that who scrambles and improvises so much, he gets out of his rhythm footwork, and that's how he can be so inaccurate. And so maybe if he's kind of tightened up his footwork a little bit later in the season, and that's what's happening there.
Okay, let's take a break in between this game. Guess how many Olympics there's a guy who's trying to break the record streak for most Olympic games in a row he's playing at. What sport and how many times in a row is he going to play in the Olympics to break the record this coming summer in Tokyo?
So it's Summer Olympics for sure.
Summer
right?
Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Olympics is every 4 years.
Okay. So it's an individual sport.
Individual and team.
Okay, is it tennis? No, it can't be tennis. It is tennis. Doubles tennis.
Yep.
What
Now how many?
This is gonna be his
Eighth.
Eighth? Who is it?
Leander Paes.
Oh, I was gonna say that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be 48. He started at 16. He's won 18 Grand Slams in doubles, mixed and normal doubles. So he's a legit player. He's not like someone from like Your Body who's suiting up for the 10th time and losing in the first round. He's legit. He's won medals before. It's gonna be his 8th. He's gonna be 48.
I think I've watched him play one time, and he was playing the brothers.
Yeah.
And who's his partner normally?
He's had a lot.
I'm sure. I mean, he's 48.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think he had Mahout as his partner at one point.
Okay. Yeah,
that's the only reason that meant anything. I'm a Mahout guy too. So I feel like I might have watched Nicholas Mahout play more tennis than any other person because I've watched one match.
I love it. Yep. That John Isner one that was like 18 hours.
Yeah. 3 days.
3 days, all time.
That was insane. Wow. 8 Olympics. That's crazy. Where's he from?
He's from India.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. So I'm thinking he started at 15, right? If you're pushing, he's going to be 48. And then you have the extra year this year. So that's 33 years of Olympics.
That's insane.
That's insane. 48. Then
you
got Federer.
Good?
What?
Is he still good?
I think he's still good. I don't think he can like get a medal, but I'm sure he could win some matches.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He's a lefty too, just like Nadal. Man, Nadal's tied with Federer now. You think he's going to break that Grand Slam record? I think Federer's toast. I think he's in huge trouble. I think it's going to be Djokovic or Nadal with the all-time Grand Slams.
Yeah, well, I mean, as long as Nadal can keep playing, he's going to keep winning the French Open every year. So
such a problem.
Yeah, but I wish you could. Like Nadal's should almost his French Open shouldn't count.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like a
count.
problem because it's like 13 or 14 of them, right?
Right. Yeah. It's an absurd amount. And it's like, obviously it does count, but it's like, he's just so good on clay. And then he, especially later now in his career, he's just been like average-ish. I mean, obviously still really good, but not like all-time great lately. outside of the French, I feel like.
No, and I think that if you're a huge Fed fan, you make the argument that like, hey, they slowed down the grass. They did the opposite of what would help Federer win more Wimbledons. So when Wimbledon was, when he was just starting out at Wimbledon, it was faster, the grass was slicker, it didn't bounce up as high. And Wimbledon, for just making the points longer, making it more enjoyable tennis in terms of just each point for the audience, they slowed it down. The ball bounces higher. It plays much more like a hard court. You can get these rallies from the baseline that are so popular in modern tennis instead of the quick serve and rally like Pete Sampras.
Right.
And that's like, that does not help Federer.
Right.
Especially against a Djokovic or Nadal, who are probably the two greatest baseline players of all time. And so you could say like, hey, Fed, he's had his best surface, like, get less favorable for him. For Nadal, it's like, it's just getting more favorable.
Right.
Like playing in November, it's just so slow because they had the French Open in November. It's so slow and it's on clay. It's just, it's nuts. I mean, it's just like the slowest court you could imagine. And he'll just grind people into the dirt, literally.
Have you ever played on clay?
Absolutely.
How many times? Like, where do you play on clay?
Americans are notoriously known for like being terrible on clay. There's clay at the Advantage Academy in Irvine.
Oh, okay.
But it's all like green clay, but it's the same thing. It's similar.
Okay. And then have you played grass a lot?
Yeah, there's grass in Palm Desert.
Is that weird?
Grass is cool. I love it.
Really?
It's hard to adjust to though, because a lot of the time the ball doesn't bounce as high. It like skids and is lower. It's harder to have a long point. What?
Rank the three. What you like the best? What do you like the least?
Hardcore. I'm American. So I'm like, it's embarrassing, but American tennis players are usually like way outside of Serena. We're way less athletic. We're not natural on clay. We can't slide. And then with grass, we're just not used to it. I think everyone can be decent on grass once they get used to it, though. It's just if you're not like some top player in the world, you're not going to play on grass. There's no reason.
Right.
The grass season's like 1.5 months. It's so short.
Do you want to play some tennis soon?
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm horrible, but I want to play.
That's the one thing during quarantine. Everyone's playing tennis.
Yeah.
I'll talk to people who've never played tennis. They're like, oh yeah, like we've been playing tennis once a week.
I've been playing all the time. So yeah, we should play.
Let's do it.
You can help me actually know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and then I'll get my R&R shirt.
Pong. Yeah, exactly. I play like I'm playing ping pong. So I know I'm for sure going to have tennis elbow in like a week, but
we had some classic matches back in the day, Berg, on that ping pong court.
In the middle of the cul-de-sac with the light.
Absolutely. We had like floodlights. We had a kid in like, I think B was in a wheelchair.
B was in a wheelchair or had crutches. And then, we were playing like 15 feet back from the table. That was all time.
Yeah. Okay. One more thing on tennis. I was listening to a podcast on like drug doping issues earlier this week. And there's the funniest story. I want you to guess the player, someone really well known in tennis. They're at their mansion and a drug tester appeared. And they say that they thought it was a burglar. So they locked themselves in their safe room and refused to take the drug test. Because I guess tennis has a huge problem with doping. Who do you think this was?
Andy Roddick.
Serena Williams.
Really?
Yeah. Back in 2011 at her mansion in LA on the security footage, she says she saw what she thought was like a burglar. And it was just the USADA guy knocking on the door. She goes and locks herself in her safe room and refuses to come out.
That's crazy. I feel like,
but they still test her a lot. So I kind of go both ways on it. I'm like,
I feel like other than Sharapova, I haven't heard of a lot of people getting busted for like performance enhancing drugs in tennis.
Right. I think it's more low level people. Marin Cilic, who won a couple majors, he got busted. But both those people are super skinny and like you wouldn't guess it. Like for Serena, I could see people who like aren't that sophisticated in terms of training. They're like, oh, it's definitely Serena because she looks jacked.
Right.
People have to understand that so much of that is genetics.
She's been jacked since she was 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not new. She's not all of a sudden now serving at 15 miles an hour harder than she ever has. She's always just crushed it. So maybe she's been on steroids since she was 10.
And she still could be on drugs. I'm not saying she's not. I'm not saying she is. But she submits a ton of tests. So I think it's kind of unlikely.
Do you think Nadal was on you thought Nadal was on steroids?
Yeah, well, a lot of people who are like up in the tennis world are like convinced Nadal and Federer were on stuff. And now people think Djokovic. They think all three.
I'm sure everyone
is. But more people, the Nadal was the biggest, I think, because there was some hair stuff. There was some hair loss.
Does he have the saggy boobs?
Yeah, there's some different things with Nadal that made it a little extra. But I don't know. It's so hard to keep up with that when you're at the very, very top, you can kind of pay for things. that are just hard to keep up with. At least that's what I heard on that podcast, that it's always like you're playing catch up.
That makes sense. I totally can see that. That makes a lot of sense. I've always said, and we can say this and go back to our picks, but I've always said I think Tiger Woods was on steroids. I think, like, no doubt in my mind he was on steroids.
Yeah, 100%.
Because that's why he got so big. And then you notice all of his injuries and stuff are all injuries from somebody who took steroids and then now is not on them anymore.
Yeah. And if you read, and I think this is one of the best sports articles ever, did you ever read the Sports Illustrated Tiger Woods, where it was about his obsession with the Navy SEALs and all that when everything went down? Such a good article. And I think that community uses tons of those drugs, and it's legal for them.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get through SEAL training. It's like super common, HGH, testosterone, whatever you got to do.
Would you ever do steroids?
No.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't, because I don't feel a need to. And I'm really paranoid about, once you do it, you kind of have to stay on it.
Yeah. I don't work out, so it doesn't matter if I took them. But I feel like if I was working out all the time, I absolutely would do steroids. Like, no doubt, 100. If I was you, like, with how much you work out, I would 1000% be on steroids.
Yeah, I mean, for my genetics, it would probably help a ton, because I don't have I'm like, I did the genetic testing, like human genome thing, and you learn about all the different parts of you, like your predisposition to Alzheimer's, how much risk you have for all different types of diseases, how long your recovery is going to be. And I have like terrible recovery genes. Like, it takes me a lot longer to recover from workworkouts. So something like steroids would be perfect.
My gosh. All right, let's have a talk about that. Well, that's my goal, is I'm going to get you on steroids.
The thing is with CrossFit, which is what I'm into, you get like 5-year bans, and I'm not even good enough for it to matter. But if I took steroids, I probably would be good enough for it to matter.
So wait,
and then I just get banned.
Okay, if you were like in your competitions and stuff.
I think if I took steroids, I would be like semi-pro or pro, but then I just get banned.
Right.
So what is it?
You're close enough to where steroids could put you up there.
100%.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you win have you been winning your little like gym CrossFit games?
Well, I'm at a different gym now because of COVID, but yeah, I'm usually one of the top people at my gym.
You're beast.
Trying to get better every year. But I think the strength is my biggest weakness. I can push on the workouts, the Metcons. It's just like the strength now is insane. And I'm trying to get up to those heavy weights, but the steroids would put me over the top.
All right, let's get you on a couple cycles right now, and then we'll stop it for like a year, and then we'll get on the. Well, you can use my P. It's fine. We're good to go. Don't worry about it.
That's what they were saying with Lance Armstrong on the pod. They're like, when they took his stuff away, even like you have to go back to the 18th person who didn't test for drugs. But they're like, even that person, they probably just cycled off right before.
Right. And that's
no
why,
one's clean.
Well, and that's my take for Lance Armstrong, is why he still deserves to be the greatest cyclist of all time. Everyone was doing it, and he still was better than them. He's a scumbag, but he's still better.
Yeah.
And that's like Barry Bonds too. Barry Bonds, yeah, for sure he was on steroids, but all the other guys at his time were, and he still has 7 MVPs and was by far the greatest player of his generation. Maybe some of his home run records don't count, but he's still the best player of all time.
Yeah, it goes both ways. And then you're like, because I saw Josh Gordon for the Seahawks, he's going to probably never play football again. It just came out today that he got taken back on the commissioner's exempt list. It's like, should you ever take these guys off who have so much talent, or should you really try to keep the sport clean? Because for Lance Armstrong with his heart, I guess he had some sort of advantage where like he should win. I guess his heart's like bigger than everyone. Have you like read about that? His heart's like bigger and better, like even with. So if everyone didn't have drugs, he should win as well. So I totally get your point. And then with like these natural athletes, do you want to see them on the field, or how clean are you going to keep it? Like at this point with Josh Gordon, I'd want him to be back in. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree.
Like, it's been enough.
Oh, especially Josh Gordon, because most of it, and he's also a weird case because most of it was not performance enhancing drugs, right? Most of Josh Gordon's issues. I think his most recent one was for performance enhancing drugs, but most of it was for weed and other stuff.
Right.
And I've heard, I don't know if you ever heard Pat McAfee talk about the drug program because he got his like drunk in public, he had to be in it. And it's like super strict, and it's crazy what it's like because in the NFL, you only get tested for drugs once a year. I don't know if you know this.
Okay. It's not. So like Serena gets randomly tested a few times a year.
Well, so performance enhancing drugs are different, but for like weed, if we're talking just weed, you get tested in the off season one time and then you're good till the next off season.
Right.
But the problem is they're not saying, hey, July 15th is weed day. Everybody come in. We're going to go test you for that. It's sometime over that. So you're hoping that you're maybe one of the early people so that you can just get it over with and then you can go back to your normal life.
Right.
But once you get into the program, it's like 4 times a week you're getting tested, and it could be anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, they could be testing you for all this stuff. So it's like way more strict. And so Josh Gordon, like, absolutely had addiction issues to the point where it's like that guy needed to get help. And he said that, right? He's come out and said, I needed help. I was addicted. It was a problem. But there's certain things where, like, I think that performance enhancing drugs in sports should just be legal. Steroids were illegal because they were so unhealthy, but now they're not like that bad for you anymore.
Yeah, I don't think you want to see it, Berg. I mean, when I was listening to this podcast, there's insane stuff out there now. Have you heard of myostatin inhibitors?
No, I haven't heard of anything.
Okay. So myostatin is what regulates your muscles so you don't just turn into Hulk.
Okay.
So after this, I'll send you some pictures. There's cows and there's bulldogs that don't have myostatin. They have myostatin inhibitors, and they literally look like Hulk dogs or Hulk cows.
So I could take an inhibitor and look like the Hulk.
I don't know what the side effects would be for humans. I didn't hear them talk about that.
But they were talking about that could
for
be a
animals,
thing that humans could take.
And you literally look like a Hulk because your body just doesn't stop. Your body will just naturally make muscle.
So, okay. So if I took it and I don't work out, I will keep building muscle.
You'll just get jacked. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that's what I'm saying. I don't want to be in the Chinese lab out in Wuhan, like making these superhumans and then putting them on the field. But I also don't want to not see the best guys on the field for a good product. So I think it's a really tough balance. Like, you don't want to see Barry Bonds never having a career or Lance Armstrong never on the bike.
Right.
I don't want like these jacked Hulks, everyone to be this just jacked Hulk, and it to just be a separate level of humans.
Yeah. And I think you're right.
CRISPR and all that bio stuff's coming out. So it's going to get wild during our lifetime.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's where, I guess, from my side of saying they should be legal is like, there's certain ones that do just like the milder ones, if you say that like help you with recovery and that help you, these guys are playing a violent sport and need to get out, football, need to get out there every single week. If we can make sure that they're all healthy going into Sunday because they've been on steroids and can recover quicker, I'm like, okay with that side of it. And like in the NBA, I don't know if you know this. So in the NBA, in the playoffs, they don't drug test for anything, performance enhancing.
Wow.
Also. And
LeBron.
so they say, I don't know this for sure, but I've talked to some people that would know, and they say guys like LeBron just load up on steroids come playoffs, and that's why they can have these insane efforts in the playoffs, is because they're just on steroids. And
right.
So like stuff like that is where I'm like, man, how cool would that be to every game have guys be like that? Right. But then where do you draw the line of what's legal and what's illegal, and how do you not have these people that are just Hulks playing and being crazy? I think that's the issue. Yeah,
it can't become NFL Blitz, but
no, right.
I also liked that video game.
That great game.
No, I think that the thing is, it's that balance, like you said, just not having it become too crazy.
Right, but then you come into the issue of where's the line.
Well, I think it's just, is it something that's tested? Like, we don't want like everyone on steroids and then one dude taking myostatin inhibitors and just coming out looking like the Hulk.
Right.
And everyone else just being on steroids. So can it be everyone? Because like you said, and I think it was a good point, like Lance Armstrong was going to win either way. So you want Lance out there. Is it either completely clean, none of that stuff, none of that blood doping, or you got everyone doping and Lance still wins? Right. He's got the big heart or whatever it was. I don't know if it was big heart, but can pump better.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. Are we doing it? Giants.
Let's go back.
Oh no. Bengals at the Texans. Houston's getting 8 points. Oh no, they're giving 8 points. I don't even know how to say this. You should, you introduce it.
All right. We got Houston -8 versus, so at home against Cincinnati, they are laying 8 points. You can say that
just sounds ugly.
They're laying 8 or giving 8 against the Bengals. I'm going with the Bengals. And this is absolutely recency bias of seeing them against the Steelers last week.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm going the Bengals. And this just counteracts everything I said earlier, and that I think that you overreact from the week before. I'm overreacting, though. I think the Bengals can at least keep this close. And last thing I'll say is I don't think Houston's good. I think everybody overrates Houston. So I think Houston's overrated. I think the Bengals somehow are competitive right now. I think it'll be closer than 8.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I was disagreeing the whole year on the Texans, so hyped on Deshaun Watson. But when Will Fuller got suspended for PEDs, I
Yep.
finally switched over your way. The Texans really stayed in that Indy game. The final score was closer than it actually was.
Yep.
And I think the Bengals, I'm going to go recency bias again, just the pain of watching my Steelers lose to them. I'm going to take the Bengals as well.
Perfect. Love it. I love to hear that. Okay, so then moving on from that, we have the Chargers -3 at home against the Broncos. I'm going with the Broncos, and here's my reasoning. I feel like they are so hit or miss, and I just think they're going to hit this week, and I think that they're going to win. I think the Chargers, again, won last week, so their luck is now used up, and they're going to lose this game in a painful fashion to the Broncos.
It's sad. This is what our podcast is. Yeah, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to say the Chargers go on a 2-game win streak. I 100% agree. It's luck with these teams. I probably flipped the coin.
Yep, definitely.
Panthers at the Washington football team. This is one team I feel strongly about in that I do not like the Panthers. I think they're sort of like the Giants last couple of years where people talk about how they have talent. They're moving in the right direction. Even the Giants, like the last few games before they just have lost their last two. Everyone's talking about Matt Rule, this and that. I watched way too many Panthers games this year. They're not that good. Teddy Bridgewater's not good.
No, he's not good, but he's not bad. Yeah,
What?
he's fine. He's not good. He's not bad though. He's fine.
They're 4-10 now.
Yeah, no, they're
not 6-8.
No, they're not talented. They're not. And Teddy Bridgewater, I think, is a fine quarterback. I think he's perfect for what they have right now. They've been competitive.
Perfect for 4-10.
Yeah, well, I think they've been a very competitive 4-10. They're not a team that you go up against. Like, I'm trying to think of the other 4-10. Like
well, they were
Cowboys.
close against the Chiefs, but other than that, I just
feel like they're always in it, which does not mean that they're a good team. But I think that's where they're better than, you look at like the Cowboys right now. I think the Panthers are better than the Cowboys, and I think they have comparable records. I don't know what the difference is, but I think they're both close. And it's like, I think the Panthers keep it close, but I'm taking Washington in this game. I went against my gut last week and took Seattle, and I think Washington ended up covering that game.
Yep.
So
I'm taking Washington as well. I mean, they have the motivating factor of if they win, they clinch. Yeah, if they win, they clinch.
There you go. Then yeah, absolutely. I think that they're going to do that because then they can rest their guys next week. I think Washington wins for sure. Let's get your business done and get home.
The only thing that worries me is their quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Alex Smith might not be back.
Well, how about
Dwayne Haskins just had the stripper thing
with all of his strippers?
The funny thing that they're all saying now is that they're not at strip clubs.
Yeah,
James Harden, did you see his Instagram? He's like, oh, I was just visiting a friend. It was like a celebration.
Yeah.
And then Dwayne Haskins, he's like, oh, I hired them for the hotel room. I wasn't like at the strip club.
Dwayne Haskins is true. That was
no, I know it's true. 100%. I know it's true. I just like that. That's like the go-to move now.
I love that James Harden just doesn't care. And he's just like, yeah,
I like that a lot.
Like whatever. He's also fat. James Harden is fat. And that's coming from a fat guy himself. I am fat right now too. And James Harden is fat right now.
You got to go hit him up with those myostatin inhibitors.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, but we'll figure that out. But yeah, I think Washington, I think there's going to be a boring game. I don't plan on watching it, but no. I think that they win that game.
And they're at home. I just think the quarterback situation, Panthers could come out. Eagles at the Cowboys. Philly -2.5.
Yeah, Eagles. Jalen Hurts has been playing well. Cowboys team looks horrible. Their defense is awful. Andy Dalton has surprisingly been competent, but I think the Cowboys are just really bad. I think the Eagles win. I think this is going to be a blowout. I think, especially for a game like this where the Eagles and Cowboys have such a rivalry, I think Eagles are going to get up and just obliterate the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, I think so too. It goes against what I want to happen when I was working that NFL playoff machine. So the ideal for me is the Ravens beat the Giants, the Panthers beat Washington, and the Cowboys beat the Eagles. Because then you got the Cowboys, Washington, and the Giants in it in week 17.
How crazy is it if I had told you before the season started that Dak Prescott gets hurt and Carson Wentz does not get hurt, and that Washington, Dallas, and the Giants are fighting for to win the division, and the Eagles are the one team that's not fighting to win the division. I mean,
what's crazy is the Eagles can still get it if they win out and some other things happen, but they're not going to get it.
No.
It's like the Raiders trying to make the playoffs.
Right. Yeah. There's weird. They need like teams to tie twice, and they need like all these crazy things. So it's definitely possible, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, it's totally crazy. I mean, I love it though. I don't have much invested in the NFC East.
Yeah. No,
I guess I like the Jalen Hurts thing. My question is, where does Carson Wentz go? My uncle was trying to get me on Carson Wentz to the Steelers, and I'm not looking for that. I don't think he's coming back. I think the whole like live with the dead money thing is going to be real. I think he's gone if Jalen Hurts plays well these last 2 games.
Oh yeah, no, but they're gonna.
I think they're gonna take the dead money.
Yeah, but I think they can get creative, and they're gonna have to figure out how to do it. But there's ways you can always manipulate the salary cap, and I think because Carson Wentz has come out where he said I'm not going to be a backup. Like I don't want to sit here and be the backup on this team, which I don't think you should, right? Especially with that contract. If Jalen Hurts is your guy, which he looks like he might be the guy, right? He's looked really well. He's at least earned his shot to be the guy. You just tell Carson, all right, you're the backup on this team. I don't know what to tell you. And
he's not going to go somewhere else.
Right. And so
the Niners are going to get something better than Carson Wentz.
Right. And so what you can do though, is then
you can go to the Lions maybe.
Yeah. If he agrees, he can restructure his contract and they won't have that dead money. But the problem is he doesn't make all of his guaranteed money. So he'd have to give up like $70 million to go be a starter somewhere else. But he might be confident in himself enough to say, hey, if I get to another team, I'm going to make this money back and I want to go be a starter somewhere. I don't want to.
Who do you think could possibly want him? We got new QBs coming to the league. What?
The Bears. I think the Bears, the Niners want him. I don't think they're going to get him because I think they can find some value somewhere else. But the Niners,
I think the Niners could get Stafford.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, totally. I think the Colts, I think, there's Big Ben. It looks kind of toast. So I could see a team like that. I could see also, you ready for this one? Go sign a huge 1-year deal with the Bengals.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's another team that's going to be really interesting. I saw them they might be the favorites for Cam. And so, because they just, they need 1 year of a quarterback. They don't want to necessarily be good, but they don't want to be incompetent next year.
Right.
So go get a quarterback for 1 year. And so that'd be a perfect thing for like, if I was Carson Wentz, I think that'd be an awesome situation. You have weapons. They're going to get they're going to get the number 2 pick in the draft or whatever, number 3, and pick a left tackle. They're going to have more of a line. You have a run game. I mean, that's a good situation to be in. If you're trying to rehab your career, I would go do something like that and sign a 1 year, $20 million, fully guaranteed contract with the Bengals, and then go try to sign somewhere else after.
You're just saying the word Bengals. And I love everything you said, except for the word Bengals.
They're turning
you
around.
Just replace that with another team. I love it.
But I agree. And I think but the Bengals are the unique one because they don't need a quarterback of the future. They have
to say T. Higgins. Don't say Bengals.
That's fine.
I'm all for it. Just say T. Higgins. Just 1 year contract, throw to T. Higgins.
Yeah, there you go. And that's all it is because they don't need a new quarterback. They know they're going to have Joe Burrow, but they just need to, because Burrow most likely won't play next year.
Right.
And so you need to have something for next year.
You think?
So I think he would, if he comes back, because his knee was that bad, he would be coming back in like week 14. And so at that point, unless you're somehow in the playoff hunt, which at that point your team's good enough and you wouldn't want to bring in a new quarterback, I wouldn't play Burrow at all. And then hopefully you get another high draft pick and can get another lineman or another weapon or a defensive piece. That's what I would
insane.
Do. But yeah,
week 14. I never heard that. I thought it was going to be like week 6 or 7. That's nuts.
No, because he has almost like a borderline like 18-month recovery. He's 12 to 18-month recovery. And so the short end of it, if he's fast, will end up being like week 8. And that's if he's the best recovery of all time.
Wow.
And so anything longer than that is like he could not even be potentially ready next season. And I could say
Rams at Seahawks. Seattle, my 1.5.
Who do you have?
Seahawks.
Okay. I
just can't, Connor. I can't. It's like you hearing me with Pittsburgh. You just can't do it. I know you were nice and you said, oh, that stuff about Phillip Rivers and cold weather makes sense. I just can't do it after the Jets loss. I absolutely will overreact to a Jets loss. It's not overreacting when you lose to the Jets. I talked to myself for 5 minutes in a quiet room. I just sat there in my notepad and tried to work through this for you on how I could get to LA, taking LA -1.5. And I just couldn't do it. It just doesn't make sense. It's in Seattle. There's just no world where I pick the Rams and think that I have better odds when I pick the Rams.
Yeah, I get that. Given your recent pick history, that makes me happy that you picked the Seahawks. I think that the Rams, here's my sales pitch on the Rams, is that they have already played the Seahawks and kicked the crap out of the Seahawks earlier this year. Russell didn't have any touchdowns and he got sacked 6 times.
In a dome.
Yeah, but okay, that's fine. What's the weather in Seattle this week? Do we know?
Chris Carson's coming back.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe a little bit of rain, but nothing serious.
Yeah, so that'll be fine. I think so. The other thing is the Rams always, even at their worst, even in the last Jeff Fisher season, the Rams always play the Seahawks tough. They always do. And Sean McVay always plays the Seahawks really tough. He's never gotten beat up, and he plays really well. And he has a winning record against Seahawks. They always look good. And the Seahawks haven't also necessarily looked great lately. So I don't know that I have a ton of faith in the Rams right now, but I think they're going to keep doing this because it's the same thing that happened to the Niners. They got beat up by a bad Niners team that was hurt and didn't have all their guys and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden win like 3 straight games against good teams. And you're like, oh yeah, they're a Super Bowl contender again. So I think that they lost their game. They got their stinker out of the way. And then they also had like uncharacteristic drops. I think they had poor play calling and execution down the stretch, but that's not like, I think those are things that they don't typically do that can get fixed. So I think a lot of the things that happened, like, don't continue to happen. So I think that's where I think the Rams are going to win this game.
The Rams play Arizona on week 17, right?
Yeah, but if they win this game, they clinch the division. No, right. Well, no. They don't clinch the division. But if they win this game, they'll be back in first place in the division.
Correct.
Because they'll be tied with the Seahawks. That's why everyone's making a big deal out of this loss, being like, oh, well, now the Seahawks are, have sole possession of first place in the NFC West. Yeah, but if the Rams then just win this game, they will have the tiebreaker of the Seahawks.
I'm making a big deal out of if the Rams lose this game. If the Rams lose this game and the Cardinals win and the Bears win, you're at the mercy. Well, the Packers play the Bears week 17.
Yeah,
so
but the Packers, this is what we're going to
the Packers may rest.
Game. They're going to clinch this week, but here's the only thing.
I'm saying there's a real chance for a disaster scenario for you. So I'm just trying to get you ready. I know. Promise to do a rant Sunday.
I will. But the other thing is Green Bay, I don't know that you rest your guys when you already are going to get a bye week. You don't need 2 weeks of rest.
Right.
So I think maybe what they do is they play the starters like the first half and then they just get them out of the game. And if Rodgers gets sacked twice, they pull him. The
Bears could still lose that game with playing just a half.
Totally. So that's where it's like, I don't think the Packers are going to not play their guys because you don't need to have 2 full weeks off. That's when you start worrying a little bit about rust. Mm-hmm. But I think that, the Rams can win that. And if the Rams even just end up in the 5 seed, I don't hate that. Then you go play the NFC East in the first week.
100%.
Which the Rams were 4-0 against this year. So I'm not too worried about anything. I think the Rams win this game. I think they take back the division lead, and then they end up. Sean McVay's never lost to the Cardinals, and they go kick the shit out of the Cardinals.
Okay, we'll see it.
All right,
Titans and Packers. This is a game I'm most excited for this week because we still haven't seen the Packers win against one of these tough teams that can run the ball and get pushed around by. So if the Packers clinch here and get that 1 seed, it's a huge statement for them because the Titans are a physical team.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm picking Green Bay to win this.
Okay.
And I've gone back and forth a bunch, and I almost want to switch my pick right now, but I'm not going to. And here's why. I agree with you that Derrick Henry is going to run all over them, and he's going to be an animal. He now needs to average 175 yards per game over the next 2 games to get 2,000 yards. And Green Bay, what have we said all year about the Titans? They can't get pressure on the quarterback. If you let Rodgers sit back there, he is going to kill you.
Right.
And I think Rodgers is just going to have all day in the pocket, and he's going to pick apart the Titans, and it's going to be a great, a dominant performance by Rodgers.
Do you think the Packers will dominate, or do you think it'll be close?
I think they'll win by at least a touchdown. They're going to absolutely cover, but I think the Packers are going to win the game. I think the thing is, I don't think they might not look good because Derrick Henry might run for 250 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if I'm a Packers fan, I'm not going to watch that game and at any point be nervous about what's happening. I'm going to feel in control the whole game.
Trying to think back to the last game where a team's ran all over a team and still lost. I guess that'd be Ravens Steelers early on this season. Didn't the Ravens put up like 300 rushing yards and still lose to the Steelers?
Yeah.
But they only lost because they had like a -4 turnover ratio.
Right. Yeah. So
I haven't seen a game script where you get run all over and win unless there's just a crazy turnover discrepancy.
Yeah. And I think here's the other thing is that I don't know that Derrick Henry will end up running all over him because of what I'm thinking is that the Packers are going to have the lead the whole game. So you might not be able to run the ball as much, but I think that I could see him, hey, he ends up with 120 yards, but he averages 12 yards a carry every time.
Right.
So maybe he runs all over him, not for 250 yards, but has, 15 carries for 180 yards. Like I could see that happening.
Right.
But not like 35 carries for 250 and 4 touchdowns. Like that you will win the game every time if you get that.
Yeah. The Titans are low key hot. They started out the season 5-0 and then I think they fell all the way to 6-4 and they've won 4 straight. Is that right?
No, they got killed by the Browns a couple weeks ago. I don't know.
Right. It looked closer in the end. You're right.
Yeah. So that game was they have been looking better. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've been looking better, but they got killed by the Browns. And so I think that's kind of the other thing. How many games have the Titans won against really good teams? They lost to the Steelers earlier in the season. They've lost to, even the Browns, they've lost to some good teams. So I wonder, they're playing the Packers, who's probably the best team they've played all year. And I think this is where the Packers kind of blow them out.
Yeah. I'm taking the Titans -3.5. I just haven't seen the Packers do it. If they do it, they do it.
Yep.
Okay, last game, Bills at Patriots. Buffalo for is getting a touchdown, giving a touchdown, laying a touchdown.
There you go. Both of those, giving or laying. Yep. Taking the Bills.
Yep.
Yep. Me too. I think the Patriots are dead.
I love that this is just a touchdown. I overreacted last week for the Denver game and then they just blew them out and the Bills are just rock solid. I mean, talk about a balanced team like the Titans. I think the Titans are really balanced because Tannehill and AJ Brown, but the Bills are so balanced and you have a much better quarterback than Tannehill. I don't think the Patriots can do anything here.
No, I agree. I think they're dead. I think the Rams killed them. I think that there was still that little hope that they could be good and the Rams literally sucked the life out of them. And now their season's over and everyone's just kind of given up. I think especially because you think about, you either have, you could make the argument, oh, it's the Patriots. They never give up. They always play hard. Well, the guys who have been on the Patriots for a while have never been in a situation where they didn't make the playoffs or where they weren't the favorite in the league. So I could see them being super dejected. Like, well, why do I care? I'm supposed to be playing for Super Bowls. I'm not going to play to beat the Bills. Like, it doesn't matter to me. And then the new guys just aren't Patriot. You know what I mean? Those are new Patriots. So it's not like they have that kind of drive that you'd associate with Patriots for the past. So I think that the Bills are going to win by a lot, especially on Monday night in prime time. The Bills are trying to make their statement that this is our division now and that, it could be conceivably the Bills division for the next 5 years, right? I think that there's not many other teams. I guess the Dolphins are the only ones that can kind of challenge them at this point, but the other two teams don't have good rosters for that. So I think that the Bills are going to win for sure. And
I think the Dolphins will make it interesting, but yeah, this is the Bills division.
Yeah, I think the thing that's going to be interesting, and we can talk about it next week, but is that the Patriots play the Jets next week in week 17. And if they lose to the Jets will not get the number 1 pick for sure. And I could see Belichick doing that to make sure Trevor Lawrence is not in his division.
Right. That's really interesting. I don't think he'll do it, but I could see it.
So, I mean, that's a Belichick move for sure. Be like, hey, here's what they're going to do. You ready for this?
Yeah, but I don't think the Jets will play either.
Yeah, but
Goodell's not going to want some sort of catastrophe where people are running backwards on TV.
But the players, here's what's going to happen though. The players on the Jets still want to win because they're not going to be there. I know, but I'm saying they want to win more because they're not going to. Most of them are not going to be there next year. So why do they care about losing or winning? So they want to lead or they want to win. And then what the Patriots are going to do, and here's how they end up winning it, is they say, hey, we know Cam's not our quarterback next year. We want to evaluate Jarrett Stidham. And then Stidham comes in and throws 7 interceptions and looks horrible. And they go, well, hey, we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do in the draft and what we want to do moving forward. We weren't trying to lose, but it's like, well, you were trying to lose. So that's what I could see them doing that. And maybe they still win, but I'd almost be willing to bet that Stidham starts next week.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up with college football. Rapid fire. Army's not playing a bowl game. Are you okay with it?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not okay with it. It's not cool. 9-2. All the other rock solid teams got a game, and then you can't find someone to play Army. I'm not okay with it.
Well, no, I think they should play them. Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know how they can't find someone. Barstool said they would sponsor. They said if a stadium will let them play the game, Barstool will be the title sponsor of it already. And Pardon My Take had the Army head coach on today. I haven't listened to it yet, but they have the Army head coach on today.
That's cool. My thing is, some of the people are saying with all these Barstool promos, you saw El Prez, Dave Port and I like sponsoring all the restaurants, and people are like, oh, you're just doing this for promotions. And it's like, well, even if they are just doing it to promote themselves, which is 100% true from a business standpoint, like if you're on the right side, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So like raising money for restaurants, I don't care how good of a marketer you are. If you don't like Dave, you can't like outmarket him and give him bad press for that. Like he's still helping restaurants, or like they're still trying to get Army a bowl game.
Right.
Like these people who try to hate on Barstool, I just don't get it, because like you got to pick a better time to criticize them.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
There's spots. Like
there's enough things to get on Barstool about. This is not that thing. And okay, let's say it is all just purely marketing, which it's not. Dave put $500,000 of his own money into this. So that's not just marketing. Like that's his own money on this. And like you said, they still are helping people. So even if it is purely marketing, they're still making a difference in helping people. So that's not a bad thing. And the final thing is, okay, if this is the best marketing tool of all time, the Barstool stumbled into this thing that's a better marketing idea than anything else. Why doesn't Apple come out and say, okay, you donated $500,000. We're going to donate $10 billion to the restaurant industry. You want good marketing? Watch this. Like that. Yeah, for sure. It's good marketing, but they also are the only company to say we might take a loss right now. I'll put my own money in here. I'll do all these things to help out restaurants. Like, do something about it.
No, people, and it's just common sense, people. Like, you didn't see the like AOCs and Rashida Tlaib when Trump came out last night and said, I want those $2,000 stimulus checks. They're like, 100%, we agree with you.
Let's do
it. They even pick their spots to criticize Trump, and they're the progressive wing of the Democrat Party. They don't go, oh, that's just a terrible idea. Yeah. That's how you come off as a massive loser when you try to criticize your enemy when they have a good idea. Pick your spots, people. If AOC can get on board with Trump on the stimulus checks, it's like, man, like you don't have to criticize Barstool for that.
Did you see Newt Gingrich?
No, what happened?
He said that he will never accept Biden as president. That it's all fake and it's all rigged still, and that he will never accept it. And it's like, dude, it's literally been confirmed that he's going to be the president. Like, what are you fighting about right now?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, even for Trump, if you want to be cynical, like, Trump took advantage of that situation with the stimulus bill where like he has nothing to lose. So he can let the Republicans look really bad and the Democrats who negotiated all that crappy stuff in the bill, like 10 million for gender studies in Pakistan or whatever. And then he can come out and be like, no, this is terrible. Like we have to help the American people. He has nothing to lose. He doesn't have any skin in the game. I think the same thing for Newt Gingrich. It's like, what does he have to lose? He has everything to gain there. He's already like hyper partisan. He's like the opposite of those Lincoln Project guys who try to act like they have integrity and like resisting Trump and the Republican Party. He's already on that train. Like what reason does he have to get off it? It's just politics where you're solidifying your base.
I get that. To me, when you're this,
like you're talking character with Newt Gingrich.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem.
Like,
he's just a whack job. There's so many whack jobs. It's insane.
But what were you going to say?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I just think this is just a crazy time of the world. And so that's why I like focusing on football.
Yeah, no, it is fun. But I mean, some of these things that are to me like so much more interesting because there's so much more tension in them. You can get way more hyped on the storyline. Like the Rose Bowl moving to Dallas. We didn't talk about that. I think that's so symbolic.
Of what? Everyone leaving California.
All the middle classes moving out. It's the state of the haves and the have-nots. You got the upper class that owns everything and then gives handouts to the lower class. All the middle class is moving out to Texas, and then they won't let them play football. I mean, or they won't let the fans be in the stadium. They won't let the parents come in to watch. So then Kelly over at Notre Dame said, the coach, he said, we're going to boycott. We're not going to play in the college football playoff if we can't have this. They move it to Dallas so that the family can come watch. I just think it's symbolic of like California is not budging at all. And now you have Tesla leaving. Now you have the Rose Bowl. I just think it's symbolic.
I guess, okay, here's what I'll say. I get everything you're saying. I hear all of that. The only thing I'll say is Southern California literally is at 0% ICU capacity right now. Like, this is not a joke right now of like, if it was the time, if all these conversations were happening, let's say in like September, when things were relatively healthy. I mean, hey, we're still in the pandemic, but things were better. We were in a better shape. Everything was kind of okay. There was still capacity in our hospitals. Fine. But right now there's literally 0% ICU capacity. And so if someone gets sick, like, what do you do at this point?
No, 100%. But I think for people who have been sick of it already, that just furthers their belief in like how ridiculous California is, because California's had way more strict mask mandates than Texas, than Florida. And now the ICUs are overflowing. Like, for people who are already like off of trusting the government in California, it's like there's sort of like a point of no return. Like, they're not going to come back and listen to that. Because they're like, well, this place is so mismanaged. Like, they say to wear your masks and they lock everyone down. And then they're the ones with an overflowing ICU capacity.
So I get that. But I think the problem is, what I would say from the opposite side is that, don't you see those things as linked of like, the California was super locked down and everything got better. And then as soon as things opened up, as soon as indoor dining was available again, as soon as gyms were all like totally open, all these things, and it's not like a certain place that you attend that is open anyways, that, you know, then all of a sudden things get bad again. It's like, hey guys, this is why we were doing it. Now, I agree that I think, you know, some people in the government are hypocritical. And I think that that's been some bad looks there. I'm not fighting on that point, but I think,
I'm not fighting on that point either. That's all like rhetoric there.
Yeah.
I'm saying in general, we're talking about the whole thing.
I agree. But I think that's what's kept why California never got as bad as New York, and why things were okay for as long as they were, is because there was super strict rules. And because, you know, I don't leave my house. I have not left my apartment other than to go to the grocery store since Thanksgiving. I've been at home. And it's like, that's all I'm trying to do to try to be healthy, because I want to see my grandma for the Christmas, and I don't want to be the one who gets her sick. But
yeah, I think you can't know though, Connor, and you would admit this, because Florida hasn't had strict lockdowns and they haven't had the ICU at full capacity or overflowing. And there's people who say that temperature is the most important thing. You can go look at Africa, you can go look at India, and there's way less good data there, but there's also not hospitals overflowing. And yeah, you have different age populations. You don't have the same amount of elderly. So I don't think you can know, because you could take the time and compare it to New York, California, or you could take the time and compare it to Florida or Texas.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that's where people just need to say, all right, this is what we're doing. This is the state we chose to live in, and I got to abide by these rules until we can get out of this pandemic.
100%. And that's why I said it's symbolic. It's moving to Dallas, the Rose Bowl.
I get it.
All right. That's it. Week 16 picks.
Love it. All right. See you guys. Merry Christmas.
Great review, everyone. Merry Christmas.